What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Friday Fuel, from unknown to unforgettable. We do have a very unforgettable guest today, somebody who has been on Friday Fuel before, and due to popular demand and being our biggest Friday Fuel that we've had, we had to bring him back on. So, guys, as you guys are coming in, let StreamYard view your comments. So, as Joe Camper, he let StreamYard view their comments. Let's go. Good morning, Melissa. What's going on? Thank God it's Friday. Bring him back, Joe said. I love it. But as you guys are coming in here, drop in the comments your weekly win. For me, it's really just being able to. It was cool. So I started growing a small agency, and seeing somebody close their first deal yesterday was really awesome. And it's cool when you start doing the thing and then you start duplicating. That's where the power really comes. And the guy who we're about to bring on has been able to do that on the highest scale and the fastest scale in the industry. So without further ado, I want to bring David Price on and get right into this. How can an agent go from here to 10,000 in the insurance industry selling final expense over the phone?
Leads and work, right? That's the thing. So, I mean, first off, thanks for the amazing introduction. I didn't realize I was the best showing, because you guys have some amazing people on here all the time. But yeah, I mean, the thing is the work. You have to work. That's usually the missing ingredient. And you need to do presentations. So you could either be a master at stalking people at Walmart, or just finding people to talk to. To me, that's a whole nother skill. And people always talk about it's a free lead, but it's not a free lead because you're paying time for that lead. So my biggest thing is get a bunch of leads and put a bunch of activity in, which I know you're amazing at. And if you're working on the phone, like, your goal needs to be dial the phone as many times as you can every single day. A lot of times people ask me, like, how many times to dial the phone, and I give you a general idea, but my whole thing is, if I'm brand new to the industry and I've never made any money and my goal is to make all the money, like, why would I not be dialing the phone every second of every day, right? And I used to joke with one of my successful agents who liked to cut off at 5 o'clock and sit on the couch. I was like, man, it's costs you $500 an hour to sit on that couch, man. I hope that couch is really, really comfortable, right? Or play video games or whatever he was doing, because, just like we were talking backstage, man, there's no better ROI than this business, and no better place you could spend your time or your money than this business.
Yeah, it's funny because I know we were talking backstage, but I started quoting around 4 years ago, and I was searching for $20, and then all my friends. Oh, okay. I'll work on that. So let's see. You're doing right there. Let's see here. There we go. Is that better? I don't know. I think there's a little echo. One second. All right. This should be better now. All right. Let me ask you this real quick. So as I was talking about education, what's some tips that you can give in like duplicating yourself from getting to that $10,000 mark, or duplicating another agent to get that $10,000 mark?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I think about when we start talking about duplication, and again, I got a lot of stuff fresh in my head, right? Because we're bringing on over 50 agents a week, right? So I see the same problems over and over again, and I see the same issues. But the biggest thing for duplication is, like, it starts with you, right? Like, you want to duplicate a good foundation. And I always make a joke that when you have an agent that's not really found their way, not plugged in, not having success, and really, like, not even a believer themselves, and then they start bringing other agents in and they try to lead them when they don't really believe what they're doing themselves, I call that a soup sandwich. Right. And the one thing I don't want in my organization is soup sandwiches. Right. So I'm real big on if you're going to lead, like, you need to lead from the front. You need to be somebody that people will follow, because at the end of the day, once you learn how to issue $10,000 in a month and you believe that you could do it and you're following the system and you believe in the system that you're following, then you could show 10 people how to do the same thing, right? And once you show one, it's nothing to show 10 more. It's just time and taking the time to find the people. And now you're at $100,000 a month agency. And once you hit about $100,000 a month agency in this business, that's when you get a little breath of fresh air, right? That's when you get a little bit of money gets made while you're sleeping. And I remember when I hit that my first time, I was like, oh, okay, cool, got it, and definitely take some pressure off.
Yeah. So when you hit that $10,000 mark, I don't know where that echo is coming from. So weird. But when you hit that $10,000 or $100,000 mark. Okay, this is getting so annoying. Give me one second here.
I'm not hearing an echo.
You don't hear it?
No, not what you're hearing, probably.
Okay. Drop in the comments if you hear it. I don't know if it's just me or... So when you hit that $10,000, that $100,000 mark there, still echoing? Okay. Okay, is that better? Okay, I'm still hearing the echo. Tech people, drop in the comments what we should do. I have no clue. Never had that happen before. Okay, we're good now. All right.
There you go.
Back to the podcast.
Great job.
Go. So, all right. So when you do hit that 10, so getting from 0 to 10,000, it's just getting in front of people, doing the presentations. Get to 100,000, it's more pretty much helping other people do exactly what you were able to do to get to 10,000, right?
Exactly.
And then what'd you do after that when you hit that $100,000 mark? Is that that's when you got out of the field, right?
Yeah, when I hit $100,000 a month, what I found is I was spending all my time helping agents. I didn't really have time to help clients anymore. So that's when I would pass off any kind of leads or any referrals or anything that I had to my agents to help them out. Matter of fact, I had one the other day that reached out to me and ended up being a $300 premium I passed off to somebody. I was like, man, that would have been nice little extra money, right? But again, that's our job as mentors. Our job is to put money in other people's pockets, right? That the person we're mentoring. So we don't want to think short term. A lot of people like to think short term and like just like that, right? $300 premium, my commission level is kind of high. That would have been a nice little advance for me. It was actually a warm market person, right? So hopefully it would have stayed on the books and hopefully it was really good business. But what I did is I built some trust with that agent because I helped them get paid, and hopefully they'll remember that, and it helped them to move along on their journey a little bit further. So yeah, so I stopped writing, and then at that point, now you have 10 agents, and now you have to be like, all right, well, how do I get to the next level? You want to turn those 10 agents into 10 agencies. And that's where the power of duplication really starts. So then now my focus went from turning people into agents into helping people become agencies and helping them build agencies and giving them the tools to do that. And I also was, instead of now giving them referrals to sell insurance, I was giving them referrals for agents, right? And start helping them build their team by hiring agents for them and giving them, and then also helping mentor until they get a better idea on how to mentor and help agents as well. So give them a head start to building an agency.
Yeah. So I feel like on paper, it sounds like that easy. I think, how long did it take for you to get from 0 to 100,000 as an agency?
12 months.
Okay.
And that's from
and that was through a lot of agents, I'm assuming, right? Like going through and really seeing who's going to make it and not, right? Or how'd that work?
In the beginning, it's crazy. I had like a unicorn agency. I mean, we had like 5-6 agents and we broke $100,000. we had like 5 or 6 agents. I mean, it was crazy. It was like if you're on the price group, like you're doing $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month. Like we just had like a really, really strong team. So we went through some agents, but we just had a really, really strong team. And there's a lot of warm market hires. And the biggest thing is like, I have a really strong work ethic. So the people were duplicating that. So like, dude, we were working Saturdays, we were working Sundays, like we were doing whatever it takes, right? We weren't like, we had goals and we wanted to accomplish and people wanted to make money and we were getting lots of leads out. You know, everyone was getting 40 leads every single week, like clockwork. And there was no, I didn't finish the leads from last week. That wasn't in anyone's vocabulary. And we're just going out there. So it didn't take a lot to hit that 100,000. As a matter of fact, I got my license in May, wrote my first app in June. And my first producing agent was in December. So realistically, wow. I went from December to June. June, I did 100,000. So realistically, it took 6 months from the time that I finally like realized, like, you know, when I had my first producing agent, that's when I was like, okay, I could do this. Like, but before that, like you said, going through agents, I hired a few agents, not a lot. I didn't hire the way I do now. So I didn't know how to, but I might've hired 2, 3, 4 agents that just did nothing. And then all of a sudden one came out there and there was nothing stopping this girl. I think this girl worked 7 days a week for a year straight, but she made really, really good money doing it. And she's in a really, really good place now, 3, 4 years later.
Yeah, absolutely crushing it. So to get to that mark, presentations, then you start duplicating, get to that $100,000 mark. Walk me through getting past that point, because that's a point where it's like, I don't know, like to get from 100,000 to doing, what'd you do, 1.6 million last month?
Yeah, 1.6 million.
So like to get there, that's a 160x or a 16x or something like that. So how do you get? What are the steps in terms of building an agency? I think that's what my real question is. So you start producing, then you start duplicating, and then from that duplication, the 100,000 to get to 1.6. Like, walk us through the steps to actually get to that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So
give us the $1 million blueprint.
The $1 million blueprint. All right, no problem. I'll be selling this for online for $9.99. But the
$9.97. Click the link below.
$9.97. Click the link below. So, like I said, there's a lot of people in this business that will teach you how to be an agent, and when you're an agent, that's great, and it's great for me too, right? That's where you get a good amount of overrides. What happens now is when I start showing you how to build an agency, the production is going to dip down for a little bit, right? Because you're not writing, you're dealing with agents. A lot of these new agents you're dealing with aren't writing. And that's where the patience comes in place, and just really spending that time and that energy to help people develop them into businesses, right? So I look at this industry like a big franchise opportunity. And when I hire a new agent, like I don't think of them as an agent. I think that person is a business. And my job is to help that business become profitable, because I'm going to get a cut off that for the rest of my life, right? So it's really important for me to help you become a profitable business. So I'm going to teach you, I mean, everything I've done, I'm going to give you exact blueprint, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't want him to be more successful than me or anything. Like, I'm going to give you the exact blueprint. So with that said, I don't want you to be just an agent. I want you to be an agency owner. I want you to make money in your sleep as well. And so you start spending time doing that, and it's slow at first, and it doesn't always make sense at first, right? Because again, it's real simple. If I kept those 10 people as agents and just had them producing and giving them leads and stuff, you know, that the money flows pretty nice. But then in the minute you start giving them something else to do that doesn't create production right away, well, now your overrides go down. But the goal is it's really hiring and finding good people. And any organization, any company, you know, like the company's the people. And you know, if you want to do $1 million in production or $1.6 million in production, you're gonna need 200-300 agents working, right? It's gonna be a team effort, and it's gonna be a journey to find those people.
Yeah. So you went from 100,000 and then pretty much just scaled up from there. That was how many years ago? 3 years ago?
So I hit 100,000 in 2019.
Okay.
So almost July would be 4 years.
So you got out of the field, you start really helping these agents, and then what'd you do next?
That was it. That's it. That's my job every day. My job is to help agents develop their agency and give them more tools. And that's what I do every single day. I come up with a recruiting program to where we hire the agents for them, better marketing, better onboarding systems, better training with leads, taking a lot of the burden off the new managers, giving a support system to where if a new manager hires someone, they're getting some help training that agent as well. So that way, because when you're a new manager, you're still relying mostly on your own pen to pay your bills and create income. Yep. So you want to give that person as many tools as possible so they can continue making that income while building their business without it taking a lot of burden. So just really hyper focused on like, how do I make it easier for somebody to basically go from getting their insurance license, running the first app, issuing 10,000 a month, and then start duplicating that process without, which I'm sure we all heard about, people, they start building. Because I talk to people all the time, like, I don't want to build, I don't want an agency, I did that already. And what I hear is I did it wrong. What I heard is like, I didn't make any money because I was spending all my time trying to help agents that weren't really fully committed. I didn't have the tools and resources for them to be successful without me also staying successful.
Correct.
So it's just an amount of just continue focus on those things.
Yeah, I remember last time you said when you see a spark, you have to pour gas on it like no other, like anything else, right? And I think like I've seen that, and I think like it makes total sense because you see that spark like you've seen in your successful agents before, and all of a sudden they go from nothing to now doing one of your top agents is doing like 260,000 a month or something like that, just as an agency. I mean, obviously you have more than that, but I think that's just a great testimonial of like how you've been able to really duplicate yourself into like helping other agents find freedom in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to take the action they need to be successful. And if they don't take the action that they need to take to be successful, there's nothing I can do. There's no podcast, there's no course, there's no lead, there's nothing that's going to help that person be successful. And there's going to be ups and downs for everyone. I mean, even my top agents reach out to me. I mean, these are agents that are multi-six-figure earners that write ridiculous amounts of production, and every once in a while they just feel down because it's such a mental game. And it's never not going to be a mental game. I mean, heck, sometimes I question myself and then I shake my head again and say, what am I thinking about? Like, like my life's good. Like, stop it. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. This is it. It's a constant grind that people aren't used to, or think that they have to constantly be doing different things, or they want to look for something else. So I think it's just really important to, as soon as you find somebody that is fully committed, because in my world, if somebody's fully 100% committed, they're going to make it. And they're going to be ultra successful. Right. It's just a matter of them doing it long enough at that point. So as soon as I see someone that looks like they're committed, well, that's when you got to reach out to them, talk to them, see what's going on, see how you can help them, let them know like, hey, this is what success looks like. You might not see it yet, but I've dealt with thousands of agents, and like, you are special, and like, you're going to win at a high level if I could keep you focused long enough.
Yeah. And I was about to ask you that because you have been able to do something that's it's interesting, right? Because you get into the industry, you've been with the same company with one carrier. It's a very non-traditional type way. I feel like if compared to what other people see, like, hey, I need to be a broker. I need to be working 30 different products, 30 different carriers. I need to have every product on the market. Kind of walk us through your thought process as you've been able to stay with one company 4 years, dialed in, locked in, and you made it. Like, I feel like that's a very rare occasion, to be honest. Like, kind of walk us through like how you've been able to do that and your thought process kind of behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny because I've had people reach out to me all the time and try to get me to add a product. Or the best one is when people reach out to me and tell me I'm leaving money on the table, and I tell them my table looks really good right now. But the biggest thing is, and I think what makes it a lot different for me, is I was looking for business opportunities. I was literally looking at different franchises, and I was trying to find a franchise opportunity that was going to let me make a lot of money with a lot of freedom. Right. I don't mind putting a lot of work in, and I work, but I wanted to be in a place where, like, also if I don't feel like working, I don't have to. right? And have that option where I'm not a slave to my business and something that was duplicatable. So I was looking at a lot of different things, and I always knew insurance was a good business to be in. I remember when I was a kid, someone's father told me like, hey, listen, if you sell insurance, and dude, I was like 12 years old, maybe. He's like, if you sell insurance, you could work a little bit and then play a lot, and then get to the point where you could play a lot of golf, or you could keep working a lot more and you make a lot of money. And like that just always stuck with me. I just never knew. I thought you needed a 4-year degree. I never knew the barrier of entry was so simple. So I never even looked at it because I didn't have a 4-year degree and I wasn't going back to college. So I was looking for business opportunities, and one of my friends who I was talking to, who owned a gym, his brother owned a franchise, and he's like, "Hey, Dougie, who's a person we went to high school with, he's like, he's making a ton of money with some insurance thing." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Well, insurance is a good business," and my friend was very successful. For him to say someone else is making good money, it got my attention, and then I started looking. So when I looked at the opportunity, I work with Seal Life Insurance Company. When I looked at the carrier, the biggest and most important thing to me was leads, because I want to be in a business where there's a demand. And one of my things where I get really confused is when people tell me, I want to sell mortgage protection. And I'm like, cool. I mean, that sounds really cool. Do you have a good source of mortgage protection leads? And they say, no, I don't. I'm like, well, why do you want to sell that? You know what I mean? Like, and that's anything. I sell final expense because I have a ton of final expense leads that are high quality and no shortage of them, right? So to me, that's a good thing. And so when I was looking at it, I was looking at the lead program, and I was looking at how scalable it was and how much it could be duplicated. And they had an app that anyone that knew how to work an iPad could basically write a policy, and they had leads that came live straight to your phone and people calling TV commercials. So I'm like, dude, this looks super simple and super scalable. So I got my license and I went all in. And along that journey, I got approached by people from different IMOs and, hey, I'll give you a bigger contract, and hey, you need more products. Say, hey, you're leaving money on the table. And, for a little bit, sometimes I start looking at those little things and then I start realizing, because my success has always increased drastically, almost month over month. So then I started thinking, well, why would I want to change something if I'm already winning? And then I started thinking about the simplicity of scaling and duplication. And then, I made it past that time, right? Then someone comes to me with a better deal, and it just happened throughout my time. But the biggest thing is not looking at this, we want to help people, right? And we do. We issue almost, I think, probably close to 2,000 applications or policies last month, right? So we do help a lot of people. We just help them with final expense. We just don't help them with other things. And I'm okay with that, right? Because to me, it's a good business opportunity. Just like if you walked in McDonald's and you're like, hey, I want a T-bone steak, they're not gonna be like, dude, we just missed out on money. That guy wanted a T-bone steak. Like, what the heck? We need to start selling steaks too. They're gonna say, no, you want a burger, shake, fries? If not, just get out of the line, because we got people in line looking for cheeseburgers. And that's what we sell, cheeseburgers. If you want to steak, go down the street.
Yeah, I think that's where what I've realized, and I just made a video on that yesterday, of like, if I were to go back in time, I've been in the industry only a year, and I go back and I'm like, dang, I thought I needed 30 different products, carriers, all that stuff, and I think that's what we're taught. But then at the same time, it's like, you should be focused on selling. You should be focused on actually getting in front of people. And then I think what's crazy about Senior Life is underwriting. You just like ask the questions on the application, and it's like, that was a huge barrier of entry for me, because it's like, okay, I sold a policy, but I couldn't get anything issued. And then all of a sudden, like, I start writing some business with Senior Life, and all of a sudden 99% of my apps have been issued. And it's like, that's interesting, because you just asked the questions on the application. It's crazy. So I think that's where you've been able to duplicate a lot too. Like, it's just like you could just teach people how to sell. I want to get into some sales training, just in terms of overcoming like different beliefs that agents may have, in terms of like when they're getting in here. What should your mindset be when you're getting on the phone and like calling leads, or like even there's transfers that come in, like senior life branded transfers. Like, what would you recommend for agents just starting in the business that are looking to start issuing 20,000-30,000 a month?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing, you're not going to do it without leads, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some very, very talented individuals that somehow do it, but I think to be able to do that consistently, because month over month without leads is definitely going to be hard. So to me, the whole mindset is, to me, leads is like a hack. Like, it's an opportunity to talk to someone that you're paying for, but like if the math works out, it's fine, right? It's fine that you're paying for it. It's like any other business. If you own a gym, you have to pay rent for the building, and that's just part of the business. Like
Yep.
that's how I look at leads. And then if you really don't know what you're doing yet, you want to look at the leads like your education. So many people, they'll spend $30,000 a year to go to college to get a degree that they don't know what to do with. Spend $30,000 a year on leads and watch how fast your life changes. Obviously you have to work them as well. Then another big thing this one's tough, right? So when you're a new agent, sometimes you don't have a lot of money and you're like in this spot where you have to close this client, and you're just thinking about closing the deal, and you're not being natural at all. Like, you want to be talking to these people like you're talking to your friend, right? Just be natural. Your mom, your brother, whoever it is, like, you want to be natural. Like, I always told agents that, when you stop trying to make a sale and you start trying to help someone, you're going to start making sales. And it really makes a huge, huge difference. And another thing that I see people that don't do, if you have a mentor, you have a manager, you have a coach, or you have somebody that you could reach out and talk to, like, you need to be talking to them between your sales. Like, don't call someone, not make a sale, and then call someone else, do another presentation, not make a sale, and do that all day long, and call your mentor at the end of the day and say, I just spent $300 with leads and I got nothing. It's like, hold on. So we didn't learn from any of those conversations. Could you tell me what happened? And like, well, I don't really remember. They just didn't want it. Well, that's crazy that you think they didn't want it, because I bet you if I call those same people, I bet you I sell some insurance, right? It's, maybe your introduction wasn't that great. Maybe the way you dealt with objections wasn't great. Maybe you didn't explain the product that well, but you need to be getting mentorship every single minute a day. I mean, I blew my mentor's phone up when I started this business. I mean, he got my phone. I call him 12 times a day. I wanted to be where he's at. And only way I could be where he's at is have the same information he had. And I had to pull all that information out by phone calls and going through every single failure I had. My goal in this business was to fail as fast as I can, as much as I can, but learn from every single failure to make sure every single time I'm getting better.
Yep. I love it. That's solid advice, because it's like your mentality on the phone, if you're not closing sales, it's not the lead. Like, it's not, leads matter, but they matter to a certain extent, because if you don't know how to sell, right, then it really just doesn't matter, like, at all. If you don't know how to overcome objections, if your mindset's not right, if you're not confident, the number one way you can start closing more deals today is with speaking with conviction. Speaking how you know the thing, because the person on the other line does not know this is your first day, first month, first year in the business. All you can say is, hey, the way you kind of overcome that is like, hey, I've been doing this long enough. Like, long enough could be a day, a month, a year. They don't even need to know that. But if they're like, I mean, they're not even going to ask you that. But I love saying that, like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. Like, I've seen what's on the market, but really speaking with conviction, like, you know how to do it. Like, it just should roll off that, and it should come with role playing. It should be coming with, how do you overcome these objections? You should be memorizing, how do you overcome that? What's your tonality like, right? So I love that you say that, because I've definitely heard that for sure. And it's like, it's just because you're not good, and that's okay. Like, seriously, it's just because you're not good, and that's okay, because that's where everybody starts. But it's not the leads, because once you give the power to somewhere else, the leads, that's where you're stuck. I love this saying. I heard it somewhere, but it was like, the only way the ultra successful became that way is because they actually took full accountability of everything. If there's a failure that happened, it was because of them. They were taking full accountability of that. If there was success, there's full accountability in that way. And I think I've seen that a lot with your just in your life and your agency, of like, hey, if we're not doing something right, like that's on me. That's something I need to fix and work on. But then also at the same time, if we're successful, like I'm doing something right. And it's also the team's doing something right as well.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I heard a saying that someone told me once too, and it's like when everyone else has the problem or the issue, then you're screwed because you can't fix them. But when you have the issue and the problems with you, then you actually got a chance. And just like you said, I mean, the biggest thing is like modeling, right? If my upline or my person I'm working with or whoever, and they're running a whole bunch of business and they have the same exact lead source and I'm not, well, it's real simple. The problem, and like you said, it is okay. And I went through that too. Like, dude, I almost quit this business, legitimately almost quit this business 6 months into this business. And I had to have a real heart to heart with myself. And what I finally realized is, first off, I only had 6 months in. And this wasn't 6 months of a part-timer. This was 6 months doing 60, 70, 80 hours a week, right? This was 6 months of me thinking I was giving it my all, but I wasn't, my mindset wasn't where it needed to be successful in this business. And I was still in the learning phase. And I wanted to quit. And I was lucky enough to be honest with myself and say, you know what, if I quit now, I can't really say I tried because it's only been 6 months. That's like me saying, hey, listen, I'm going to learn Spanish. But if I don't learn in 6 months, it's not for me. Like, I'm sorry, I probably won't be able to be fluent in Spanish in 6 months, no matter how hard I try, right? But like everyone understands that. There's no issues with that. No one's going to argue with that, this and that. But you jump in this business and you give it a shot for 6 months, easily you say, hey, you know what? This wasn't for me. But like, hold on a second. It's only been 6 months. Yeah, but I tried. I'm sorry. It's only been 6 months. I don't care what you did for 6 months. It's only been 6 months.
Yeah. That's good. What's as we kind of wrap up here, what's some advice that you can give to maybe a new agent out there or agent that may not sees your life and says, hey, I want to be like David Price. I want to be able to have that lifestyle where you're moving to Puerto Rico in like a week or two, like going and like literally like having a beachfront view, making passive income in your sleep, making $164,000 last month. Like, hey, I want to do that. I want to be the guy that every time I scroll on Facebook, I see ads of this dude. I want to be like that guy. What would you say to that person that like feels like they've lost hope? To be honest, like I think it is like, it's funny, but at the same time, like it's a reality of like a lot of people aren't there yet and want to be. What's advice that you can give that person?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing, let's talk like facts real fast. So just to put stuff in perspective. So last month was March, I made $181,000 in my bank account, right? That's not production. That was in my bank account. That was actually deposits, 181 and change. So it was probably closer to 182. And let's see, so 2018, my 1099 said $20,000. Right. And that was me starting in May to the end of the year. So that was over half a year's worth of work. And like I said, that wasn't me procrastinating. That was me getting leads every single week, going out work every single week. That was me giving what I felt was an honest effort. So basically the whole point of that is I easily could have been another failed insurance agent. At the end of that year, I could have, my significant other or my family could have said, hey, David, this insurance thing isn't for you. Look, you're not making any money. The year before that, I made $250,000 doing disaster work in 7 months. Right. So you think going 7 months making $250 to get my insurance, like it was like I didn't come from McDonald's, right? I was a multi 6-figure earner beforehand. And then I went to that to making 20 grand in 2 months. As a matter of fact, when Hurricane Michael happened, I actually went and worked there for 3 weeks in October. I made $30,000 in 3 weeks. So I made $30,000 there in 3 weeks. I made $20,000 over 6 months with my insurance license. Like, you think I was second guessing my life, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people here like second guessing your life, or this isn't for me, or I can't make it. Well, guess what? I was exactly there too. And what happened? I got my mindset right. I stopped blaming other things for my problems. I stopped thinking the grass was greener everywhere else. And I stopped having conversations with people that I was trying to have conversations with just to co-sign my BS, right? I made sure anyone I talked to was in a better position than me, right? I stopped taking swimming advice from drowning people. And I put my head down and I said, dude, I woke up every day pissed off. This is going to work. I have no other choice but to make this work. I'm committed in this. This is going to give me the life that I want, and nothing else will. So I don't have time for it. And I went to work, and my income has increased 50 to 100% every single year, year over year. Last year was my 4th year as a licensed insurance agent. I made $1.1 million, and I'm already on pace to double that again this year. Again, I only say that because I also could have quit in January and said, yeah, I tried that insurance thing. I only made $20,000 in 6 months. It wasn't for me, right? I chose for my story to be different than that.
All right. Everybody have a good day. Everybody have a good week. Like that's the real stuff. That's the real stuff that I think, like, I appreciate you sharing that, because I don't think a lot of people have that courage to like share that type of, like, be that vulnerable, because you did not come from a Starbucks like me. You didn't come from an 18-hour job. You came from a what? I calculated it. You're in that 7 months. You made $35,000 a month. Like, that's not chump change, and that's not like issued business. That's like real money in your bank, and
With
you
no
didn't
expenses.
probably spend any money on doing that. You just like worked, right?
Yeah, all my expenses were covered as well. So I had no rent, no mortgage, no nothing, not even food. I didn't even have to pay for food.
That's insane. And so that's where I think, if you guys are struggling out there, don't rely on motivation. Don't rely on inspiration. Like, just look at the facts and say, hey, this is exactly what he did. This is exactly where he went from making $20,000 in a year or 6 months to making that in sometimes a day or a couple days, right? So it's like, you can do that as well. We're joking around, like it's what is it, the 40, now it's like the $40,000 a week blueprint. But yeah, so I appreciate you coming on here, man. What's ways that people can reach out to you, possibly work with you, want to get into that duplication system? What are ways that people could go out and really possibly work with you, or just like follow you on your journey?
Yeah, if you're interested in working, the fastest way to find me is tpglife.com. Go on there. You can fill out a form, get set up to speak to someone from my team for an interview, and make sure that you align with what we're looking for. If you just want to see some of my content, David Price Official on YouTube. Also, my Instagram is David Price Official, and David Price Official on Facebook as well, and TikTok. So always looking to connect with new agents, see if I can help you any way that I can, and looking forward to finding more leaders out there. That's it, man. Always short on leaders, right? Looking for people that actually want to build agencies, that are willing to fully commit, that want to duplicate exactly what I did. I got the blueprint for you.
And real quick before we end, I love your shirt. It's not saying living the dream.
Let's see.
The black is a little hard to read just in this angle, but I could see it. It's building the dream. So talk about that real quick, and then we'll wrap up here.
Yeah, of course, man. So I used to say it all the time. People ask you, how you doing? Living the dream, living the dream, living the dream. And finally someone told me, like, no, like, that means you're settled, you're happy. So I'm not living the dream anymore. I'm building the dream. So if you're interested in getting a Building the Dream shirt, go to my website as well, tpglife.com, merchandise, and we have other motivational shirts as well. If you want to check them out and order them, they come straight from the company. But I think it's really important. I wear a motivational shirt every day, basically. And I just, like you said, I just have to constantly be chasing my dreams and constantly thinking about my mindset, and whatever I could do to help remind me of that day in, day out, when things get hard, or when I get tired, or when I have the don't ifs, don't wants, or whatever. That's what I do. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, guys. Have a great Friday. Have a great week. Go crush it. Maybe you can go from $20,000 in a year to $181,000 as well. If you just implement these practices, watch this on repeat, subscribe, just really implement these things, and I guarantee your life will continue to change over and over and over again. Once your mindset change, and once you see the world clearly how it is, seeing the truth, then maybe you're in the circumstances that you are today because you're the person that attracted those things, and taking full responsibility of it and accountability, your life will start changing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.